Hi everyone, it's me, Beatty Kelly Sunflower. So I thought I'd hop on today and do a flip through and first impressions of this book that came yesterday. It's called The Queen of Wands, the story of Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist behind the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, and it's by Cat Willet. So let's have a look at the back of the book. So it says here, discover the life, work and magic of Pamela Coleman Smith, the visionary artist behind the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. Seasoned readers and fledgling diviners alike turn to the Rider-Waite Tarot deck in search of inspiration, understanding and even a hint of the future. But the story of the cards art is less well known, with their brilliant creator's name stripped away from the project for decades. Now, for the first time, mystics, art lovers and fortune tellers will uncover the magical story of Pamela Coleman Smith, the creative force behind the singular tool of divination. Beautifully illustrated by artist Cat Willet and inspired by the work of Pamela herself, The Queen of Wands celebrates the profound legacy of this mystical force and serves as an enhanced spark for witches, creatives and activists. Wow. So this book is, I'd say, about A5 size. It's hardback. Let's have a look inside. So this is I have to move my book around because it's too big for the camera. But look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Nice yellow with all these kind of shapes and stuff. Beautiful. So you've got the affinity there, hearts, circles, half moon, moon. That looks like the star. I don't know what this represents, but isn't that beautiful? So the publisher of this book is called Running Press. They're based in Philadelphia. I've never heard of that publisher before. So you get a beautiful contents page, nicely laid out, which I do like on a contents page. So it has here early years, 1878 to 1896, and it gives you the page. Jamaica, 1896 to 1898. London, 1899 to 1909. And it's got the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, 1909 to 1910. Advocacy, 1910 to 1914. Later Life, 1914 to 1954, Beyond, Author's Note and Acknowledgements. Oh, this is interesting. Let's have a read of this. When I take a brush in hand and the music begins, it's like unlocking the door to a beautiful country with plains, mountains and billowing sea. I mean, it's got here PCS, which I'm assuming is Pamela Coleman Smith. So because the creator is an artist, I don't know whether she's describing herself when she draws or whether she's comparing herself to Pamela Coleman Smith. So I think that is Pamela Coleman Smith, in my opinion. And you can see that she's painting sceneries, you know, the sea, grass, the mountains. You've got the clouds there, the moon. I think that's even could be birds, maybe ravens. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, this is a cartoon book. Let's have a read of the first couple of pages. So it's got here, when I moved to New York and was struggling to navigate my life in the city. I mean, it's got here, Catlin Books, Tarot Readings, Book Now. I book my first tarot reading. Then this picture, oops, Daisy, this picture here says, Brooklyn Bound. I was hoping to find some clarity and connect with something deeper than myself. I wasn't sure what to expect from the reading. This is the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, but I prefer to call it Smith deck after the artist who designed the cards. This one here says her name was Pamela Coleman Smith. Pamela was never really credited for her work, so calling it the Smith deck in my way is honouring her. So I'm wondering if this is just giving her motivation behind the book in cartoon format. So it goes on to talk about more things. It says here, I vaguely recall Pamela's name and looked up for her online. I mean, this is a picture of Pamela, but cartoonified. I felt an instant affinity with the person I saw in the few photos I found there. She was eccentric, strange, and smiling. Okay, so I don't know if that's the introduction of what inspired the creator to write the Queen of Wands book. I'm not sure. So it's got here, why haven't I learned about this incredibly prolific artist in art school? And what could I do to suffice her story? I mean, it's got here, like, I think these are the moon faces, and that looks like the sun. So it's got the Empress here, which you can actually even colour in, because it looks like it's a colouring in thing as well. Early years, 1876 to 1896. So, do you know what? This is a comic book. I didn't know that, but hey, I can do comics too. But I'm just a bit shocked because I thought it would be a textbook. So it talks about Corinne Pamela Mary Coleman Smith was born in Middlesex, England on February the 16th, 1878. And it gives a picture of an artwork of her birth certificate. And then it says here, in this photograph, the day was grey, foggy and cold as her mother, Corinne Coleman Smith, laboured to bring her only child, her beloved Pam, into the world. This is Pamela as a baby, I'm assuming. The moody weather was an omen of a complicated life to come. One filled with struggle, ambition, and the desire to leave things more beautiful than how they were found. So that's how the kind of book goes on. So for each chapter, there seems to be this kind of artwork. Ending her early childhood years just outside of Manchester, Pamela exposed to the fight for women's rights and suffrage, ideals in this particular progressive region of England. The Manchester Society for Women's Suffrage was founded 11 years before Pamela was born, and through it was a divided movement. It managed to spread feminists to London, Scotland and Ireland, and eventually throughout northern England. And it gives you a bit about suffrage there. Okay, so it looks like for each chapter, it's just a cartoon. And then you have to go to the contents page to find the chapter. So, for example, if I want to know about her life in Jamaica, I go to 41. So let's have a look at page 41. It looks like as well that before the chapter starts, it's separated by this page of moon and suns, and each time you get to a new chapter, the sun seems to move down. So you've got the sun. I like that you use the sun tarot card to describe her life in Jamaica, and it tells you Jamaica 1896 to 1898, and it gives you her life in Jamaica in pictorial comic format. So the next chapter, as you can see, that's moved down again, is London, and it's got strength for London. So it looks like it gives you a tarot card for each of her chapters in her life. And then it's quite a smart idea actually, but as I said before, I didn't expect it to be a comic book. What chapter is this? This chapter here is, oops a daisy, Rider-Waite tarot deck. And then it's got the High Priestess, which makes sense, because the High Priestess is all about inner knowledge, vision, clairvoyance and all that sort of stuff. So that makes sense. So that card does represent her deck that she illustrated, and it gives you some footage about that in cartoon format. It's even got a bit about Lenormand in this book as well, which is interesting. Found another chapter. Oops a daisy. Okay, as you can see, this sun keeps on moving around. So this one is advocacy, and it's got the magician to represent that chapter of her life. So this is a really cool book. This is Beyond, and it's got the moon for that, because that was a mystery. But then this card looks like the Sun card as well, with Pamela Coleman-Smith stroking the lion. So that's interesting. Let me just read this last bit here for Beyond. Pamela Coleman-Smith's life was rich with charm and wonder, and even her death occurred in a place full of magic. I like to imagine that she visited Tingal and explored Merlin's cave, carrying a candle through the ancient sea chiselled tunnel, watching the light flicker in the surf, her own voice echoing behind her as she stepped ever forward. And that's her with the lantern in those days, walking forward into this tunnel. So let me just see how many pages this. So this is 190 pages, but bearing in mind it's an A5 hardback comic book, I think this is quite a good book. So author's note: made my best effort to ensure that all the biographical information in this book is accurate as possible. Unfortunately, though Pamela Coleman-Smith was so underappreciated and unrecognised in her time, many exact dates or details from her life are unclear or unknown. In these circumstances, I've done my best to sympathise what is known about her into the likeliest version of events, and to do her story justice. It is my hope that by evaluating Pamela's story and sharing it with more people, we can all begin to more fully understand this remarkable woman and the contributions she made to tarot. Then for acknowledgements, I would like to acknowledge the extensive research compiled in the book Pamela Coleman-Smith, The Untold Story by Stuart Kaplan, Mary K. Greer, Elizabeth Foley O'Connor, and Melinda Boyd Parsons, which allowed me to accurately tell Pamela's life story. I want to extend heartfelt thanks to my agent, Joan Brookband, an unwavering source of support and advocacy. So let's have a look about the creator. Cat Willet is a Brooklyn-based artist and author who holds an MFA in illustration from the Fashion Institute of Technology. She received her BFA from the University at Buffalo with a minor in art history, and also studied at the Scuola Lorenzo di Marseille in Florence, Italy. She primarily works digitally or with ink on paper, and her drawings depict plant life and strong female figures that are deeply rooted in history with a bit of whimsy. Illustration work has been featured by Apple, Madison Square Garden, Doc Martens, the Museum of Art and Design, and more. One thing I want to say is, when people write acronyms, I think it's very important that in brackets you define what those acronym means, because this book has gone worldwide, and I don't know what BFA means. Does it mean Bachelor's of Fashion Arts? What does MFA mean? Does it mean Masters of Fashion Art? It's I think it'd be nice if she had just put that in there. I know it's a small little whinge, but it's just one of my pet peeves, because people shouldn't assume that people would know what that means who live outside of America. Anyway, this is a gorgeous book, Queen of Wands, based on Pamela Coleman-Smith. So what are my impressions on this book? I actually like it. I was a bit taken aback that it was a comic book, but that makes it more interesting, and I think it's, I like that each chapter's got their own tarot card and commentary. So for example, the first chapter, which is the early years, you get the tarot card, which is felt to represent that, and then a whole just comics. And then the last bit of it is always a bit of a write-up, you know. And I like that it's also got the moon phases with the sun separating each chapter. I think it's really, really cool. You know, like for example, this one as well. Jamaica with the sun. It's just gorgeous. And I like the fact that she's depicted Pamela as tinted. Because Pamela was melanated, even though people don't want to admit that. She was of Jamaican and English ancestry. So I'm looking forward to reading this book right through. And that's what I can say about this book right now. So I'm just be warned that it is a common book and it might not be for everyone, but I don't mind a comic. So I'm gonna leave the links in the description bar on how to get this deck. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.